Okay, here we go. Okay, hello everyone. I know that you're all used to these being on Monday at 1 o'clock, and so I appreciate you joining us on Facebook. This week's webinar is a little different, as you can see, so we're actually pre-recording this, so it's not live right now, but I am very excited as we have a guest today, so it's not just me. You're going to have an opportunity to hear from somebody who's been in the business and knows just what employers are looking for, especially with students. So again, for those who don't know, my name is Alexander Florio. I am one of the co-founders of Swob. Swob is a job app that we've created, but with a more specific focus on students and higher turnover industries. And joining me today is Michael Agema. Michael Agema is a storyteller, an educator, and an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, he is the founder and CEO of Agema Hospitality and the Agema app. So Agema is changing the way that the world works by seamlessly connecting people with work and work with people without boundaries. So they like to say, we give a shift. So Michael's been in the business for over 35 years, and he's actually being a professor before with some of the different colleges across the GTA. So I'm very excited to have Michael joining us. Michael, if you want to just go ahead and give a little introduction and talk about Agema and what you guys are working on.
Well, so thank you, Alex. And yes, it's exciting to be here as part of the Swob Facebook Live process, and it's new. So if I make any mistakes, we ask for forgiveness in advance. So yes, part of the invite was, you know, I've been a serial entrepreneur, I think, and I encourage everyone, you know, even if you work in public service, have something that keeps your time occupied. It's fun. You make some money, and meet some people, and you never know where it goes. And I think since I was 14 years old, I've tried a lot of things. I would say out of 10 startups, I'm probably three and four in my world of success. And I say success based on made some money. So yeah, it's good. I'm here to share some information. So go ahead, ask questions, and we'll go from there.
Beautiful. Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to have Michael join, you know, not only is he trying to connect students with shift work, which, you know, kind of ties to what we're doing with Swob here. I think it's his experience as a professor, which is why we wanted to have him join, you know, with a lot of students on both platforms, both Swob and Agema, looking for shift work or part-time work. There's a lot of things that students aren't doing that they need to be doing in order to find employment. So, you know, I know that typically a student will apply to a role, you know, because they're a student and they're looking for any part-time gig, which, you know, I understand. But when it comes time, you know, when you want to jump into your career and you're graduated and, you know, you're looking to start your professional career, there are a lot of things that students aren't doing that they need to be doing in order to stand out to employers, and especially in a crowded job market. So that's why, you know, Michael is, you know, he knows what to do for students. He's been involved with students, and that's why we wanted to have him join us. So I think we're just going to jump right into some of the questions that we had for
Perfect.
Michael. So,
sure.
You know, we talked a little bit about elevator pitches in one of the streams that we've had. And I think an elevator pitch is really, really important because, you know, it gives you an opportunity to, you know, really put your best foot forward and talk about what you're doing in a short and effective way. And so I want to ask you, in your opinion, how do you craft an effective elevator pitch, and what should an elevator pitch include?
And good questions. So for those who may not know, an elevator pitch, and I've told this to students in my careers class, it's an opportunity at any time it comes upon you that you meet somebody of influence, and this person could potentially connect you to somebody who you really want to get to know, a potential job, a potential partner, who knows what that is, and they will give you literally 30 seconds of their time to convince them the why I should talk to you further and why I should connect you somewhere else. So, you know, we use the elevator pitch because you get into the elevator, you get to the top floor. So one of the things I talk about is, you got to know yourself first. Don't tell me something that I don't need to know, something that's unique. Because again, 30 seconds, if you don't connect with me, I would say in 5 seconds with either a question or something that is a unique selling proposition about who you are, I don't care. We meet thousands of people every day. We walk by, we make relationships either through passing. So it's very important to have a practice, and this is essential, a practice elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And so look at some of the skills that you have. And the most important thing in the elevator pitch, Alex, and to your listeners, is you need to not only say, so I'll give you an example. If I were to meet Alex for the first time, I would say, Alex, my name's Michael. And let's say Alex owns a hotel or resort. I said, if you've ever struggled with labor pain and somebody has called off a shift and you know that if people don't come in, have you ever been in this position? And Alex will probably say, yes.
Yeah.
Solutions to help with your pain relief. And I finish it up, and this is what's key. If this person is somebody I want to meet again, I say, Alex, are you available on Thursday at 10 o'clock for a quick chat? And I can go over more about what I do. And then that person may say, well, Thursday may not be good. How about next week? Next week, Tuesday, 10 o'clock, would that work better? You and I have done this. Yep. This is how we make connections. And then the last thing I do is great, exchange a phone number, if you have something on LinkedIn, you can scan my LinkedIn QR code. We can connect, follow up, and then be prepared and go from there.
Yeah, know all about the follow-ups, that's for sure.
Yes.
But no, that's a great point. I think, when crafting an elevator pitch, because you want to get such effective information out there, it might seem daunting to have all of that information in a short 30-second window. Yeah. But like you said, the more you practice, the better and better you're going to be, and the more effective it'll become over time. And I think that's one thing I also want to talk about is that, I think for a lot of students, or really whoever, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're a business owner, a student, or, a professional, practice, because it's not going to be the most effective right away. You can't just, it's not just going to magically appear. So to your point, I think you have to keep practicing, and it'll get more and more effective, and you'll become more and more confident every time you're doing one.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, just record yourself on your phone. See what you sound like. Count the times that you have fillers or the ums and the ahs and the likes, like. Stop it, because that's what's going to consume somebody. So practice. So when you get that opportunity, think about the most effective TV commercials you've seen for 30 seconds. Remember them. What makes them memorable? It's something that makes you go, oh, really?
Yeah.
So keep that in the back of your mind.
100% right. And I couldn't agree more with you with the likes. The likes drive me crazy. So likes to an absolute minimum if possible. So thanks.
Yes, exactly.
So the next question that I wanted to ask, and this is something that we've talked about, just the two of us when having our own conversations, is the difference between soft skills and technical skills. So a lot of students who are coming from overseas might have the technical skills, but might lack a little bit in the soft skills. And so I just want to ask you, what is the difference between the two? And really, how can you, as a student, how can you really brush up on both skills to make sure that they're both really strong?
And very good question. And I think for your viewers who are newcomers to Canada, it could be 1 year, 2 years, they're international students studying here, and they think they have it all. Yeah. And I'll get to the soft skill, hard skill, because not only from an entrepreneur, somebody who has hired and interviewed and reviewed resumes thousands of times, the technical skill, if we start there, are the training and education somebody brings to the table that are validated. And so if I use food and beverage, which I provide short-term staff for, do you have any previous knowledge of point of sale systems? And if you do, what are they? Property management systems. Are you good at Excel? Do you have multiple languages? Are all technical skills that somebody may give you, again, tying into your elevator pitch, is your unique selling proposition, because somebody knows what they're looking for. And so those are key. Certifications you may have. if you've done Smart Serve for alcohol service, you've done health and safety in the workplace, first aid, maybe you're a lifeguard, anything that you can sell that, and I say sell, promote within yourself, those are all technical skills that people are looking for.
Yep.
Think when you look at a job posting, I would say, 50-50 according to Canadian culture. And we'll get into more culture more, but Canadian culture values technical skills on an equal footing as soft skills.
Yeah.
So an international student, a professional coming into Canada may have a high level of education, a high level of technical skill according to their home country, but it's different here and they may not get a job because they lack in the soft skills. And here's the key point, Alex, according to Canadian standards.
Yeah.
In their home country, they say, well, I'm really good at soft skills, but not according to Canadian standards. So it takes some time. So soft skills, just the number one thing I focus on, and I'm sure you do at Swob, is within, whether it's written resume, an interview, is you have to, within a short period of time, is develop some level of trust. Because when Alex makes referrals, they need to trust Alex and his team that the people they're sending, they can trust. And that my HR departments struggle is because they look at a resume, and I call it, I do a seminar, by the way, called Take Your BS and Turn It into FU. The focus of the seminar is take your backstory, which is your resume, and turn it into your FU, which is your future undertaking. And so I focus on these. So I look at trust. So how do you create trust? Body language, communication, how you communicate on paper, we'll go there. How you speak, how motivated are you? If you look at dependability, can you verify that I'm going to show up on time, be excited to be at work every day? And if you can do that, you're going to be successful. There's the soft skills there.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point there. And one of the things, this is why I wanted to ask this question, just because, coming from a professor's point of view and being somebody who's, been around students for a long time, you're right. Some of the students that are from overseas might have all the technical skills in the world, but they don't recognize that, like you said, the soft skills are just as important as your technical skills. And I think, that's something that we get asked quite a bit. Just from some of our users, I've applied to lots of jobs and I have a great, strong education, but I might not be the best at interviewing. And how can I improve on those skills? And so I think it's really important that newcomers to Canada, or new students coming into Canada, or students in general, regardless if you're a newcomer, you need to know that, or you have to recognize that these are just as important as your technical skills. And you can have all the technical skills in the world, you can have all of the degrees, but if you can't communicate and if you're lacking those basic soft skills, it's really, it's not going to help you. And you really need to make sure that you're focusing on your soft skills and improving if you really want to make sure that, you take advantage of the technical skills that you have. You want to make sure that you know what to do in terms of your communication and how to properly show off soft skills. So completely agree with you. Coming from a professor's point of view, I think hopefully our users will listen. I know I would as a student looking for a job, so appreciate
that's the key too, is will they listen? And remember, the resume just gets your foot in the door. So you have to sell yourself and your skills in your cover letter and your resume. But the final decision 100% of the time is on an interview.
Yep.
And interview will look at your charisma, your character, your showing up on time, all of those things that we as HR people, as educators, cannot change in you. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the innate ability to do these things, I think that's going to be key. And just on the note, and I made a couple of notes here because yesterday I had a resume. And maybe it's another question. Cross-cultural resumes. Capitalize your eyes.
Yeah.
Do not finish by signing off instead of kind regards, say, do the needful.
Yeah.
And please be humble. Pleading is not necessarily in Canadian standards a way to get you in the door.
Yeah.
So have somebody who is not a friend, is not from your circle of influence, review everything. And just on a side note too, and it comes to mind, everything you write on your resume has to connect with your social media.
Yep.
Because I search everybody who sends me a resume and I want to see how their profile is online.
Oh yeah. You better
So,
believe employers are doing that. When they're getting a resume, I have to believe, and I do it myself, and I have to believe that, you know, everyone else is checking up that person and viewing them online. So make sure, you know, you make sure you're putting out there what you want people to see. But you know,
absolutely.
I think, you know, you brought up a good point there, and you know, I just want to throw in a little short story. But when I was a student in university, I spent my summers working downtown Toronto for an insurance broker. And when I would have, at the end of the summers, before I'd head back to school, I would have a meeting with my boss, and we would just kind of talk about things that, you know, what I could be doing when I graduate, how my summer experience was, different things like that. And one of the things that stood out to me that he mentioned was, you know, he's brought people in with some of the fanciest degrees from the best schools, and you know, he brought them in for interviews, and they turned out to be total duds. And
Yeah,
because they, you know, again, they had all those technical skills, but didn't know how to do an interview, felt entitled a lot of the time because they had their, you know, they had a nice education. Whereas, you know, he would bring in other people who might not have the fancy degrees, but when they showed up for an interview, they they showed that motivation, they showed that
absolutely.
drive, they showed that passion and that eagerness, where that employer knew that, you know, just because that person doesn't have the formal education, they know that person's going to come in and work their behinds off. So I always found that interesting, that, you know, at the time I thought, or, you know, you need your education, you need all that, and you do, and it is important. But to your point, you know, you got to make sure you have the soft skills down as well, because all the technical skills in the world still won't help you if you don't have the soft skills.
Yeah.
Um,
If I could just add one more thing, because again, this is a great question. So elevator pitch, make sure that all your connections are in sync. If you send a text message, make sure you take the time to write a text message in full language. I get text messages. Yes, this morning, 7 text messages. Hello, nothing.
yep.
How are you? Nothing. It's like, get it out there, but capitalize, you know, do your spacing properly. It seems so redundant, but as somebody who is looking for people all the time, the answer I get when I read a text message or a social media is if there's a spelling error, my first reaction is they're not paying attention to detail. If they work for me, they're not going to be in proper uniform. They're not going to be proper service. So all of these things, even though I've never met you, are shouting loud to me as somebody who's about to hire you.
It's such a good point. And you know, you can ask Stephanie, my business partner, when it comes to things like spelling errors. I consider myself a bit of a grammar police. And
Good.
right, I mean, you know, if I'm looking at somebody's resume for the first time, before I've even had an opportunity to speak to them, if I
Yeah.
know spelling errors right away, red flags are going off, and it's just, you know,
Yeah.
it shows me that you didn't take the time to actually fully review it. You didn't have anybody else look at it, because it's a resume. There shouldn't be spelling errors in a resume or in anything
Correct.
else that you're sending to an employer. And if there are, it just shows that, you know, you've half-assed it, or maybe you just don't care. So I think
Yeah.
that's a great point.
And I think of two, I don't think about just me hiring them, but how will they work with others? How will they work with my customers?
Exactly.
And because ultimately, every time I hire somebody, they now represent us.
Yep.
And my reputation and your reputation is worth a lot more than somebody's lack. It sounds so simple, and whether it changes or not, I don't know. But we'll see. But
Oh,
we'll see.
yeah. And I mean, if you're sending me a resume that has spelling errors, how can I trust you to be reaching out to clients,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, in an email, when you know, you can't even send a resume without a spelling error? So it's a great point.
Yeah. No.
Now, uh, another question that I had, and this is something that we get asked quite a bit, and I'm sure you have as well, as your time as a professor. You know, a lot of people who are recent graduates, who are looking to start their professional career, they don't know how to find those connections. They don't know
Correct.
they don't know how to network properly. And I think, networking is something that I always push out. I think networking is really, really important. And I always encourage those who are looking to start their career. I always encourage that you get out there and network and, do informational interviews and meet with people and grab coffee and do all of that. So I think that's really important. And so now my question to you is, just as a student, how can you make meaningful connections across different cultures, especially for newcomers or even just recent grads that are, Canadian born? What can they do, these students, to make sure that they're making meaningful connections? And what should they be doing? And what should they not be doing when they're trying to make these connections?
Hard question, a good, excellent question, and one that I have focused on, as an educator, but then when I spent 3 years in international education, and I would see students from 70 different countries, and they would say the same thing: how am I going to meet people? So let's first get what's an obvious out of the way. Is we gravitate to those who are like us.
Yeah.
Whether it's our culture, our ethnicity, our home country, because it creates comfort in food, in clothing, all these things that create comforts of home. My parents, as immigrants to this country, did the same thing. I go back and I challenge students to, especially newcomers to Canada, think about the courage it took for you to leave your family, to get on an airplane with your most valuable possessions, to come 6,000, who knows, kilometers to a new country with a dream.
Yeah.
A dream of an education, a dream of a career, a dream of eventually settling to bring your family here. So I keep going back to you, as and talking to your audience, you have taken more courage than most anybody does.
Oh, yeah.
To do that. And yes, you go through the honeymoon, and this is exciting. By week 4 of being here, it's like, I miss my mom, I miss my dad, I miss my brothers, my sisters, walking down the streets, recognizing people. So courage, number 1. Number 2 is, I say, curiosity. I tell people all the time, ask people questions. When you talk to Alex about networking, I'm networking in the grocery store. I'm networking during social distancing, during COVID. If I'm 6 feet apart, just spark up a conversation about something. Yep. You never know. And if you walk outside and this person's in a car with a sign on it, it's just, hey, it's relationships that we build. So cultures are key, but curiosity, going back to that, is ask questions. If you're from Southeast Asia or East Asia or Eastern Europe, in North America, if you're from Latin America, ask questions, find common ground. And most of the times, common ground is in music, it's in food, it's in dress, how we interact with people our own age. So to me, curiosity, courage are 2 key things, and get connected. My parents always told me, talk to strangers. Most people say, don't talk to strangers. My parents were a little crazy. They said, talk to strangers, but do not talk to strangers, and you'll know who they are.
Oh, yeah.
And as a young person, I'm going, are you nuts? Like, what's happening? And they would say, no, you'll get it. And so we meet people all the time. Guaranteed. If somebody's watching, they have walked on a street and have walked by many people, some people to make eye contact with, and they nod. You want to play a game, by the way, Alex? Walk by somebody and go and give them the heads up. And that tells them that, hey, I should know you. So they stop to think, I should know you. And you say, hey, yeah, how's it going? Say, where do I know you from? And you say, I don't know you. And you just move on.
Yep.
It just drives them crazy. But that's beautiful. So yeah, meaningful connections are key. We are in Toronto, in the GTA, known as the United Nations of Nations.
Yeah.
More people are newcomers to Toronto than are born citizens of Toronto. So embrace it. We have done something great, and we have to keep it. So I think when it comes to meaningful connections, give it a shot. Get out of your comfort zone. Once a day, make a goal. Once a day, twice a day, meet somebody from have a conversation and get for some food.
I love that. And, it's funny. We've been asked before, and for me, when I graduated from back in in the day, it feels so long ago now, but when I graduated from university, college, one of the things that I tried to do was I wanted to make sure that I was prioritizing a lot of time just to meet with people, do these informational interviews, and build on
Yeah.
these connections. And one of the things that we often get asked is, well, how do I cold email somebody for an informational interview when they have no idea who I am and they have busy schedules themselves? So a lot of times it seems like people are often intimidated to do this. And I fully understand, I get it. But what I often tell people who are a little afraid to reach out to somebody for an informational interview or to grab a coffee is, you have to recognize these people that you're reaching out to were at one point in your shoes. They will more often than not understand what you're going through as a recent grad or whoever looking for a change. They will understand what you're going through because they've been through it themselves. So if you're reaching out to them in a respectful way and making sure that you do have respect for their schedules, people are willing to help, but they're not going to help if you don't ask for it. And so I love, make a goal. If it's one person a day or whatever it is, have those goals in mind and don't be afraid. I love what you said about getting out of your comfort zone. If you're not doing that, you're not moving forward. You're staying behind, and you need to get out of your comfort zone in order to continue to grow.
And remember, going back to if you're a newcomer, you left your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Anybody who is familiar with the stress, the discomfort, the unknown.
Yeah.
If English is not your first language and you're struggling to find the right words to sound right, don't worry. It's okay. People are, like you said, Alex, we've all been in this. We have walked in those shoes before, and we still do.
Yeah, exactly.
Stops walking in those shoes, again, becomes complacent and will slowly just disappear anyway.
Yeah, you're right. And, like you said, just the fact that, especially for newcomers, if you're coming here as a newcomer to go to school, you've already stepped way out of your comfort zone. And that's something where I couldn't imagine leaving my familiar surroundings, my family, my friends. I couldn't imagine leaving all of that behind and to start a whole new life. The courage that you have just to do that alone, it's incredible. So if you're going to do it and you're going to come here, make the most out of it and, make sure that you're doing these things.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like a train leaving a train station. It's a slow start. You chug along, but eventually once the momentum goes, physics allows you to keep moving forward. You'll get luckier the more you try, and then you'll start to, and your friends will say, how come you're getting all the jobs? How come you're making all these connections? And then this simple answer is because I try harder.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's, and some will embrace this, what we're sharing. Others will sort of just say, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, there's no magic wand. If it was easy, everybody would have it all figured out, but it's up to you. You have to be the one to take that initiative and do it.
That's right. Now, and it's going to be harder because we're all wearing face masks. So, you can't see people smile. Yeah, so the body, which is a different thing, but we'll get through that.
Well, I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt and hope that they have a smile.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, the next question that I wanted to ask you, and this is something that I'm sure you've been asked, especially as a professor, and it's something we get asked all the time from our student users, is, as a student, how can you best prepare for an interview? And it's funny, when I think about that question, it's a very general question, but even now thinking about it just with coronavirus and everything that's going on right now, because things are shifting, we are getting a little bit out of our comfort zone. Zoom interviews are becoming more and more normal.
This is it.
Yeah, exactly. But regardless of whether it's an online interview or an in-person interview, how can somebody prepare? And I think about that question, and I want to give you an opportunity to answer in a second. Sure. I've seen so many times where somebody has asked me, how can I prepare for an interview? And it's obvious that, you're going for an interview. Did you research this company? No. Well,
exactly.
So I'm just curious to know your thoughts on that.
No, and you started with my key point. It's we've taken for granted in the previous three questions, you know yourself, you know how to communicate well, you are ready to hit the stage, and that stage in an interview. What are you doing? And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Take as much time as you can by researching the company. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can Google the company, search, go through all the slides, go to the bottom, ask about key people. Secondly, I tell people, if there's a chance, because of proximity, go sit in the lobby in the restaurant and just watch as people interact. Look at the people who work there. What do they look like? Do they look happy? Do they look engaged? Look at the uniforms they're wearing. Look at the customers. Listen to conversations. It's like being I enjoy it's on raw, watch people watching. Just watching people smile, and you wonder what they're up to. There's no nothing is hidden anymore. You can go through Glassdoor and find out how other people enjoyed it. I would say use that with a grain of salt, because usually we will post the 1,000% more who are happy, will not, because they don't want to take the time to say anything. But research is key. Visit it. What else did I say here? Optimize every interview is the key. Don't make your elevator pitch got you in. Part of the research is, what to ask you. If your viewers want to, I'll give you top 10 behavioral questions, situational questions, technical questions that you will need to answer. The problem with interviews is, as soon as you can be more prepared, stage actor, and you will forget your lines.
Yeah.
And so you will not answer questions effectively. We cannot, as interviewers, as panelists, if you're not used to having a panel interview, in most cases now, I think there's 2, 3, 4, 7 people on a panel. So you're the lone person at one end of the table, and you're talking to 7 others. Each one of those individuals has a mission to either find out information about you that's related to what they need, but also at the end, it gives them a very mosaic response to what you're like. And so, it goes back to preparing for an interview. Practice, 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 rehearse. If you stall, because let's be honest, we've all gone into an interview and you leave the interview and you go, oh, I bombed it. Yep. There was so much more I wanted to say. I have so much more experience and I missed it. Can I just go back in for one last chance?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, because it's that in confidence is the key. So there's a lot of repetitive systems that you can use in order to be effective. What else? I think that's it. Who are they, and the just find out and see if you look good in the colors. I think that's just kidding.
Well, I mean, you're certainly right. I'm certainly guilty of going on an interview and right when I've left thinking, oh, if I can only go back and change this answer, change what I said here, or whatever. Yeah. But, I think the point too, even just with research, as a marketing grad, when I started my career in marketing, the agency that I worked at, if you went in there for an interview and you couldn't name at least 2 of the clients that they were working with, didn't matter how good your interview was, didn't matter how good your resume was, you were never going to get that job. And so it's so important that you do your research and that you practice. And I think the most important thing too is, when you are practicing for an interview, you don't want to sit with somebody who is a good friend of yours who's just going to tell you, oh, you did great. You want somebody who's going to give you that honest feedback, even if it's as blunt as it is, because that's the only way you're going to learn and the only way you're going to improve. But, even when people talk to me or ask us questions about, oh, I went on an interview and it didn't go very well, I understand that, it's not a good situation. You might not feel the greatest, but I think the one good thing about having a bad interview, if you could say there's any positive to come out of it, is learn. Look at what you've done on the interview. Think about that interview and what you could have done differently, and learn from it. It's not always going to be perfect, regardless of what you're interviewing for. But if you're learning from the mistakes and keep practicing and practicing, you're only going to get better and better at it.
Yeah. And don't be that hard on yourself. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you're a younger person and you haven't had years of interview, well, and you should go back and practice that, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And again, I think just relating to some of the business that you work with, they're going to train you for everything you need to know.
Yeah.
They cannot change. Your personality was developed within yourself from a very young age.
Can't change.
That's what they want to see, that you come up with that excitement.
Yep.
Sometimes we've heard the cliche, fake it until you make it. Every movie that you've watched is rehearsed. Every movie is words that have been scripted. And by watching, you go, okay, this looks good. Watch that. So you have to emulate this, and always remember, the best interviewers are your best salespeople. Mm-hmm. Because no matter if you're working behind a counter selling beverage or some of that information, you're still creating a memorable experience for your customers. And and this is another thing too, is remember people's names.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I keep telling people, and I may not remember music lyrics or movie lines, but I take a lot of time to remember people's names. And so if a customer of mine comes in, I'll say, Alex, how's it going? How's your dog? I know you don't. How was your birthday? How was your weekend? Did you play golf? Remember these things of customers. People will pay to be recognized 100% of the time. If somebody comes in and says, Mike, how's it going? And they go, wow, people, I feel like a somebody here. So
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a long way. It goes a long, long way.
Absolutely.
Well, I think those were all the questions that I had. I want to thank you for joining us and answering these questions. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you being on. So just for anyone who watches this video, and for our Facebook users that stream or watch this on Mondays, if they want to learn some more information or check out some more information on Agema, where can they find you?
Well, they can do one of two things. They can download the app on the App Store and the Play Store. It's Agema Mobile, AG. As I tell, people who work with us are our gems, because I always told people to remember my name. I'm a gem between two A's. And the first A is your attitude. You're the gem in the middle, and the final A is your achievement. So if you combine all of these things, this is where you get to. Store available. They can download it, fill in your profile similar to yours, every other app. Or they can visit our website at agemahospitality.com. Keep watching for changes. And again, and I appreciate the time you've taken. Remember, we're just a work when you want. We're here to fill up those gaps in times to help you.
Did we just have some internet issues here?
You looked great.
Okay, I think we might have had a little bit of a hiccup there with the internet, but I think we're okay there. But I don't know if that got cut out. But if you want to repeat the last thing you mentioned there, and that way, I think just in case.
Yeah. What part where did I? I'm looking at the camera, not you, so I don't. I watch these Zoom meetings. Okay, everyone's looking down. Like, is there a zipper down? But anyway. Where did I finish?
Check out Agema, download it, create your
profile. That's right. Okay, sure. I'll repeat that again. So just on that note, if you want to find more information about working when you want, where you want, download the Agema mobile app on the App Store or the Play Store. Visit our website at Agema Hospitality. Reach out to me and ask questions. And this should be the easiest connection you make without any fear. So we hope to hear from you, and best of luck in your future.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate you joining us. I'm sure our users will take a lot of value coming from a professor and listening to what you had to say. So really appreciate your input, really appreciate the time you took, and look forward to connecting. Amazing. Thank you, Michael.
Good. Are we off there now? Everything's still recording.